As Australia's energy grid faces increasing pressure, the future of energy consumption must be a collaborative effort. With smart technologies and consumer-driven solutions, can we create a more reliable and sustainable system? Well, joining me in studio is Gavin Mooney, General Manager, Australia of Kaluza. It's wonderful to have you with me. Why does Australia's energy grid need such urgent support? What are we seeing?
There's two main reasons for that, Mike. One of them is that if you look at our current energy system, it's largely built around coal-fired generation. So we have a lot of coal-fired power plants in Australia, and they're getting older. We've got some that are operating still today that were built in the 70s. And so as they get older, they become more expensive to maintain, but also they have a tendency just to sort of unexpectedly go offline, the unplanned outage. So that's one problem. The second challenge is that we're transitioning away from coal to a system dominated by renewable energy, which is mostly wind and solar, and by their nature they're variable. And if you look at when they're generating, like solar would generate mostly in the middle of the day.
Correct.
That doesn't always line up with when people want to be consuming electricity.
6 o'clock, boom.
That's right.
Yep.
Get home from work, turn on the air conditioning, turn on the oven, and so on. And so we have this sort of disconnect, and there's two main ways we can approach that. One is we shift supply using energy storage, such as batteries.
Yes.
And the other is we can shift demand, which is more a conversation about how to change customer behaviour.
Okay, well, I certainly like to go home, turn on my thing, turn on this, turn on that, but how can technologies like EVs, and you mentioned batteries there as well, and of course the demand response, improve energy reliability? That's another thing I see cropping up quite a lot, is the reliability of the grid.
It is. It's definitely top of mind for many people. If we look at batteries, they are probably the energy storage technology with the most momentum at the moment,
Yes.
and that's because price has just been falling consistently for many years now. So we're seeing grid-scale batteries pop up all over the country. And I said that solar generates mostly in the middle of the day. Yeah. Well, we can sometimes have the situation where there's actually too much solar, and that can cause problems.
Too much?
Too much, exactly. It means that there's less demand from the traditional generators, like the grid-connected ones, and so we have this problem called the minimum demand problem. It can cause the grid to become unstable. And so if batteries charge up in the middle of the day, then they can actually start to soak up some of that solar generation. So that fixes part of the problem. Then if they discharge later,
right,
they can supply electricity back into the grid to help supply that evening peak that we were talking about.
It is a delicate dance.
It is. So that's batteries. And then if we look at EVs, because the price of batteries has been falling so much, it means the price of EVs is also falling. And we're getting to the point where the price of an EV is going to be the same or even lower than the price of an equivalent petrol or diesel
I certainly
car.
see a lot more of them on the road, that's for sure.
They are. They're proliferating, exactly. And at that point, it becomes a no-brainer to buy an EV. Except when you buy an EV, you don't just get a car, you get a massive battery as well. And if we look at the size of the battery in an EV, it's big enough to power a typical house for the best part of a week.
Is it?
So we're going to end up with a lot of households in Australia with all this battery storage on site. And that kind of leads into your third point, which was demand response. If we look at when an EV owner charges their EV, we can get them to start charging it in the middle of the day instead of when they get home from work. Then again, we're shifting demand to soak up some of that rooftop solar. And EV charging isn't the only flexible load. There are lots of other flexible loads in the home. Take heating and cooling. You don't have to run the air conditioner when you're in the home. On a day like today, we've got lots of wind, lots of sun. We could be running the air conditioner now in the middle of the day so that when you get home, it's soaked up all that renewable generation. You get home and you've got a pre-cooled house. And then it takes much less energy to maintain that temperature. And there's lots more of these flexible loads.
These great little examples.
Machine,
Things we could be doing.
And, I think there's an awful lot of potential to currently unrealised potential to shift the demand side, and it's going to make the energy transition far more achievable.
It's interesting that I'm sitting here going, I'm learning about things, right? Surprise things, which is great. And that makes my next question quite interesting. Are consumers fully aware of the potential of their energy assets, and should retailers be doing much more? I see those beautiful stickers smacked on the side of refrigerators with the star system, energy ratings, etc. But do consumers actually know what is going on?
I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so. And we can't really expect them to. I mean, if we look at a typical EV battery, the size of the battery, multiply it by, say, 1 million EVs on the roads, which isn't that many compared to how many cars we've got in Australia, you're already looking at more battery storage than we've got in the whole country at the moment. But if you talk to an EV owner about using their EV battery to power their home or to support the grid, you've got to get into a conversation about, oh, well, what's it going to do for my battery health? I'm concerned about that. And so there's a role for education.
Totally.
Because, you know, recent studies show that actually the impact on the battery is much less than most people would imagine. And similarly with rooftop solar, you know, we've got so much rooftop solar now, a third of all households, 4 million households, and 3/4 of that generation is actually exported back to the grid. And so traditionally, people with rooftop solar, they've shopped around for the best deal. You know, I'm going to be sending all this stuff back out. Who's going to pay me the most? Now, 10 years ago, that was probably something sensible to do because you were paid reasonably. These days, you're just paid a pittance.
Right.
And so actually the conversation should be shifting to how can I, as a consumer, shift more of my consumption to make the most of my rooftop solar. And as I said, I don't think we can really expect consumers to do all that. So that's where I think there's a really exciting role for technology to start automating, and that can be done through the energy retailers. Because let's face it, the average consumer doesn't want to spend their time thinking about energy.
Absolutely not. I got too much on my mind.
So they can't be expected to remember to, oh, it's 11 o'clock, there's lots of solar. Plug the car in.
Correct.
So what we should do, let's have them, instead of plugging in when you get home, just leave the car plugged in the whole time.
Yep.
Tell the app when you need the car charged by, and then just let technology do the rest.
I was going to ask about AI's role in all of this, because I'm sure there must be something coming, developed.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the applications of AI in utilities are all over the place. But for this specific one, like matching EV charging to when there's lots of renewable energy or where prices are low, that's what we're doing at Kaluza with a lot of our customers. And I think it's a really interesting space.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you to finish. This is where Kaluza comes into play. Tell us a little bit about the group and where people can go if they want to continue this conversation, learn a thing or two, and can get involved.
Thanks. So Kaluza is an energy tech platform that enables energy companies to transform their businesses, dramatically improve customer service, and also drive decarbonisation. Basically by significantly reducing operating costs, boosting customer loyalty and trust, and also allowing utilities to rapidly build and launch these smart energy products and tariffs.
Very, very cool.
And if you want to get in touch with me,
please.
LinkedIn. I do a lot on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out to me there.
Awesome. I want to thank you for joining us on the program. It's been great to learn a little bit more about what's going on actually with the grid, and of course understanding that solar is doing way more than I thought it was.
Thanks, my pleasure.